Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're in the C-101CC and we're looking at air-to-air gunnery and air-to-air missiles. So we can equip with one gun, either a twin M3 half-inch machine gun or a single 30mm cannon. I'm going to use the twin M3s here on pylon 4 only. On outer pylons 1 and 7, we can have air-to-air missiles. AIM-9 Mike, AIM-9 Papa, or an R550 Magic 2. They're all infrared passive heat-seeking missiles with a range of approximately 2 to 10 miles depending on aspect, altitude and speed of us and our hostile. Mike and the Magic 2 are all aspect seekers, where I think the Papa is a rear aspect only. We're going to go for Mikes. Remember, before you arm up, you must turn this knob here to intercom, so that we can talk to the ground crew.
Request rearming.
For today's controls, for the gun, we will unsafety the trigger with trigger safety catch unlock, and then the actual trigger is fixed weapon trigger. For the missiles, unsafe the missiles trigger with stores release guard open, and then actually fires the missiles with stores release button. We'll do gunnery first down to the SCAR panel. Fixed weapon switch cover up and make sure that this switch is set to air, otherwise everything will be calibrated for air to ground. Next, master arm switch on with the left click. That's all we need from the SCAR panel here for the gun. In the SCAR display, we can see that we have the center pylon, the gun, activated and ready for use with 220 rounds to fire. Next, the gun sight. Energize the gun sight there. We only have one usable mode for air-to-air use, and that is the default auto mode there. That gives us a gyro-driven, stadiometric lead computed sight. This is not a radar, this is passive only. We have 4 different settings for this reticle, and we can switch between them with the range selector next and previous. That is the 700 foot setting, that is the 1250 foot setting, that is the 1800 foot setting, and that is snapshot. Snapshot is non-lead computed for obviously a snapshot. The others are passive lead computed for the various ranges. We'll use the 700 foot range. In this mode, that point to that point measures 50 milliradians, which is an angle. What that means is if we maneuver to place the hostile, so his wings touch the edge there and the edge there, and the hostile is 35 feet in wingspan, then we will be ranged at 700 feet and the lead computing will be active. Same goes for the other modes, but the ranges are obviously different. If the wingspan of the hostile is, for instance, twice as big as 30 feet, if it was 70 feet, then we would frame him so that he is double the size of the reticle. If it was half the size of 30 feet, we'd frame him so that he's half the size of the reticle. It just so happens we've got an F-18 out there, which is about 37 feet, so just about right for our 35 feet calibrated gun sight. Unpause, let's go get him. First, we're going to do the trigger safety as we saw earlier. We are now unsafed. Now simply a case of framing him with the outer markers, the 50 milliradian markers for a 700 foot shot, and pull the gun trigger when ready. It is not suitable for highly maneuvering aircraft, it's really for low maneuvering aircraft. Next, let's go on to the missiles. Back down to our SCAR panels, we can see that we have the missiles loaded on that pylon and that pylon. We can either select one pylon or we can select both. You can hear when we have at least one selected audio growl of that particular seeker head selected. Next, we need to ensure that our mode is not safe. The best thing to have it on for a missile shot is NC. NC does not actually have any function, but because it's not unsafe, the missile can now fire. We can now unsafe the stores release trigger as we saw earlier, and go and find the target. The seeker is searching at the bore side of the aircraft. That's about there. It's roughly represented by the reticle there. We do not have to have the reticle on, but it just helps as a rough guide to where the bore sight of our aircraft actually is. We now need to maneuver the aircraft so that the bore sight of that missile can detect the hostile's heat signature. We may have to get a little bit closer. Regards ranging, it's all done by eye, so I have to estimate the range to him because I do not have a radar. But technically, I could use the stadiometric sight for ranging. Okay, you can hear the change in tone. That means that the selected seeker head has picked up the target. At that point, it would automatically uncage itself, unfix itself from bore sight. It will now follow the hostile heat signature to anywhere within the slew limits of the seeker head on the missile, about 40 degrees. So, if I were to maneuver down there, the hostile is way off ball sight, but it's still picking him up. Important, in this aircraft, we have no method of rejecting this target. So if we've locked onto a friendly by accident, the only way of rejecting that I can see is just deselecting the missiles. Select them again. We'll start the search again. This time we'll go and fire at him. Okay, we've got a tow. It's uncaged. Now the beauty of uncaging the missile is that we can now put a lead on the aircraft. We always need a lead for a maneuvering target to help the missile's flight path. I'm going to put a lead out here. And shoot with the stores trigger. And boom, we've got him. And it's automatically now selected this one is expended, and we can go and fire again now. That's all I've got to show on air-to-air gunnery and missiles. I hope that was useful, and see you later.